everybody. Here I am again. I don't know what I'm talking about here. I have no idea. I've always been someone who always gets pretty overwhelmed when I'm forced to be around somebody who doesn't understand things. It just, I don't know, I think it really kind of started maybe about the age of 4. So like 41 years of this kind of being just how it is for me. I get anxiety and overwhelmed when I'm around people who don't understand. It's everyone, of all time, of always, of ever. A couple times in other videos I've taken the time to kind of, let's say, just kind of name drop Jordan Peterson or something and dog on him a little bit. That seems really disrespectful, and it's not like I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Jordan Peterson in any way, shape, or form. It's just a measurement thing. Like, not only is Jordan Peterson, basically, from what I gather, from my perception brings this information to me, we'll call it that, he's basically like twice as smart as everybody else. You know what I mean? Like, in this generation and of all time, like, this man has gathered, anyone in this generation stands upon all of time's shoulders. So, don't call yourself tall, standing on the shoulders of all of history. See what I mean? We're all at the advantage in the age of information, call it, to be able to gather in all the information that has ever been, and, Jordan Peterson is leading the charge, let's say, to the degree of he's not just smarter than everyone. He really is actually smarter than it. From what I can gather, he's smarter than all of you. And he's actually probably smarter than basically all of recorded mankind, the history of mankind before us. See what I mean? He's taken everything, gathered it together, and stood upon it. You know what I mean? Like, his soapbox is all the information that's ever been recorded throughout history. He stands upon that and makes himself taller. There are a few other people who do the same thing, but he's kind of doing that probably with a slightly more superior, authority in that than, let's say, all the rest of you. Now, I have a whole lot of respect for several other men. This walk of life man, this guy over there, this guy over here, this religious guy, that other religious guy, but when I take the time to kind of like dog out like Jordan Peterson, it's just kind of seeing it. I know I've been kind of sick of the narcissist handle that everybody wants to throw on me. It's just, I'm really sick of that. And when I don't know, the human race is just, death. It's impossible for me to comprehend what it's ever going to take to, communicate to the human race. But anyway, I'm not trying to. I'm not trying to. Let's say Jordan Peterson were to actually listen to this. I'm not trying to discourage him, but he's basically just, talking right over. Maybe he's on the same frequency or closer to the same frequency as the rest of the human race, and so maybe it is that all that he says, he says all this, and maybe some of it's being absorbed by somebody somewhere to a certain degree, but it's not really. There's not really any fruit coming from it because he's talking over the top of everyone's head, basically. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel good about listening to, if he talks for 15 minutes and they understood, 30 seconds of it, then it benefited them and they grew from it. So that's awesome. But, I think when he sits there and talks for 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes or something, he, for the most part, he's really just talking right over everybody. And, and how I know that is because, if all the thousands of people that have heard Jordan Peterson talk, if they were absorbing what he was saying, well, this world wouldn't be as bad as it is. See what I mean? Like, even as smart as Jordan Peterson is, all of his words fail him and all of us. And it's not his fault. It's the deaf ears of the human race. Like, they're just completely incapable of hearing. Like, I have proven this beyond a shadow of a doubt. Reach out to talk to the best of the best of you all, the ones I consider to kind of be the most woke, the most awake, the most aware, the most intelligent, the closest to wisdom, etc., etc., etc. And it's still, the reality of everything escapes all of you, all the way up to Jordan Peterson. Even it escapes him. So, my relationship with Christ and my relationship with God are two separate relationships. So obviously two separate relationships that it offends me, the lack of intelligence, when people consider Jesus to be God. If that lack of intelligence offends me to the degree of, I really don't, I can't work with that, I'm sorry, but it's just, it is completely ignorant. And here's, I could sit there and dissect this idea, this forever, actually. But for the most part, my Heavenly Father and I think more alike, let's call it that, than Christ and I. I know you guys are like, what? That doesn't make any sense. But it actually, I could go on and on and on explaining, not that you all, or any of you would ever actually comprehend it. But now, it depends on what we're talking about, okay? Let me take one little detail. One of the rare times where I'm more on Christ's side than our Heavenly Father's side, and that is, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. I've been dealing with this since I was like 4 years old. It's easier for me to just forgive the whole entire world for not comprehending and not knowing at all what you're doing than for me to just, have to enter this miserable state of trying to communicate to deaf ears. Like, I'd rather be dead. I'd rather be skinned alive than waste my time talking to deaf ears. It's just, so, I go to our Heavenly Father, like, hey, look, man, I'm totally on board with Christ's dying last request. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they're doing. Can we just get there, Father? Jesus and I are, he first did it, I second the nomination. They're never going to comprehend it. Mark Twain had it right when he said, there's no amount of evidence that will ever convince a fool or an idiot, or however he says it. There isn't. talking and talking and endless talking doesn't make a deaf person all of a sudden start hearing, you know? Father, can you do it, man? Can you forgive them, for they know not what they're doing? Because look, man, I done tapped out on trying to ever get the, look, I don't want to name drop somebody besides Jordan. I feel like there is a top 10 smartest people on the face of this earth. So let's just take those other 9 that I haven't mentioned. It doesn't matter which one of them. I have total, like, I respect them as being the most intelligent, closest to wisdom humans across the face of this earth, and I've reached out to them. They don't get it. Like, you know, so I just have to keep going back to God and saying, you know, at what point in time can we just forgive them, for they know not what they never will. You all will never, ever comprehend it, because you have your ears shut off to the truth. You know? Every last one of you is, you know, it's got some form of fear in your heart. It doesn't matter the individual. I can go through individual by individual and just point out what a coward you are and exactly why, and prove it to you. Prove it to everyone. This person's a coward for that reason. That person's a coward for that reason. Because like you're filled with fear, and so therefore, like, you can't hear. I don't know. Most of the time, with most things, I'm kind of more in line with our Heavenly Father than I am Christ. But with that one detail, you know, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. There's no amount of me talking that's ever going to get you all there. You just, you know, you're never going to get there, you know. So, I mean, I kind of told you Book of Malachi was totally in my face around 2009, 2010. I told our Heavenly Father, you know, yeah, whatever, man. You want me to go talk to this, like, deaf, retarded human race? Well, no thanks. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna do that. It's a complete waste of time. You know what I mean? Like, if Jesus couldn't do it, what shot do I have? You know what I mean? And, you know, it's kind of like, knock, knock, who's there? Jacob. Okay, who are you? I'm here to tell you about Jesus Christ. Well, I already know about him, you know. No, you don't. No, you don't. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a Jehovah's Witness or a Catholic or a Jew or a Muslim or any you know, Methodist, Baptist. None of you actually comprehend anything. You just don't. You spit it out with every time you turn around. You prove that you don't understand. You understand the brainwashing that you got from Paul, and you do not understand. You do not comprehend Christ whatsoever. None of you, absolutely none of you, except for maybe Ebony. Seems like she's about the only one that really, you know, must have Christ in her, which means she has the Father in him. So, you know, shame on all the rest of you pathetic losers. You know what I mean? All of you cowards. If you can't even stand up to a conversation with me, you think you're bulletproof? You think you're fireproof or floodproof? You think you have any insurance at all? No, you don't. You don't. You're just a John 3:16er at best. If you're lucky, you'll get forgiven after you die. You don't understand anything I'm telling you, and you really never will. Mark Twain was right. I'm here to tell Jordan Peterson, he's wasting his time. No amount of evidence will ever convince an idiot or a fool. And we're living in you know, a generation where the whole entire generation is fools. All of you. you know? And so, back to Malachi. 2017, September 23rd, 2017. I tell our Heavenly Father, you send a plague, or I'm not going to go do nothing. Like, thin the herd, take a little bit of the number away from my responsibility. Just end them. And guess what? Continue to end them until they listen. See what I mean? It's all in there. You can't put any stock in the scriptures at all and then just continue to remain deaf. All of you. Let me tell you the worst beating I ever took in my life. Okay? And I was not disrespecting anybody. Rabbi Singer is about the only person that might get a chuckle out of this, because the rest of you all are just so damned ignorant. That one time I told my dad that the Old Testament was more about me than it was about Jesus. Took an ass beating, man, for just speaking the honest to God truth. Yeah, since the age of 4 or 5 years old, I have basically decided that you all are just a wasted part of our Heavenly Father's creation. You know what I mean? All of you, the entire human race. It's just a wasted endeavor. You know, like a a prototype that just really wasn't worthy of ever having produced. That's the human race. I love you enough to go to your defense. I keep going back to God and just keep saying, hey, forgive them, for they know not what they do. I'm with Christ on this one. You know what I mean? Like, there is no amount of words, there's no amount of evidence that will ever convince you how deaf you are. All of you. The best of you, the smartest of you, just stone cold deaf. And you prove it with your actions, you prove it with your words. You're always, all of you, every single last human being condemns himself with their own tongue, and you don't even comprehend it. You have no clue. The best of you do it. Like the stupid ones that keep their mouths shut, they're actually smarter than all of you, because they're not condemning themselves every time they turn around with running their mouth and saying crap that is just complete bull. You have nothing to back it up. You guys don't even comprehend when you contradict yourselves, when your own thinking is impossible and illogical. You can sit there and read this, Jesus said this, and go over there and read Paul said that, and they contradict each other, and it never dawns on any of you. Except for Rabbi Singer. Yeah, he gets it. There's a few of you, some of you exquisite ones, that get a couple details that fascinate me. That how does it that you get that detail and you don't get all the rest of them that surround that detail? It all hooks together, man. It's all one continuous thing. You guys are all zoomed in with your, microscopes, and you guys can't even step away from it enough to say there's a whole room here, kind of thing. You're sitting there looking what's on the slide, in the petri dish or whatever. You're so zoomed in and focused on these microscopic details that you don't see anything. Just a human race completely blind and deaf. You don't know what you're looking at. You don't see what you look at. You don't listen to anything that you could possibly hear. You don't have the ears to hear. You don't have the eyes to see. It's a whole human race. I keep going back to God saying, just forgive them, for they know not what they do. Like, you screwed up, Father. You made an inferior invention, creation of humans that are just completely incapable of knowing what they're doing.